When I say Christ is born, say glorify him. Christ is born. Christ is born. Christ is born. I was thinking 2 weeks ago, this was not the Christmas attendance I was expecting. I feel a little deflated, I'll be honest with you. I was thinking about the reason that Christ came into the world. We use words during this time of year like peace and love, joy, all these things. But we must be very, very, very clear as to why Christ came into the world. And St. John gets straight to the point from the beginning of his gospel. If you look at Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they all start talking about the life of Jesus. Especially Matthew and Luke, when you read those gospel accounts, it talks about the birth and it talks about that who Christ is. They talk about the genealogy and all those things. But St. John comes straight to the point. If you read the first chapter of St. John, which was the reading for yesterday's gospel, it starts right from the start. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then he goes in talking about how Christ, this Word of God, is the light into the darkness. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. And it says later, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. And later on in one of his gospel accounts, in his letters, 1 John chapter 3, he says very clearly, if we want to know why God became man, why did God come to earth? It says this, for this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Because we understand ever since the garden and all through mankind, the devil has been wreaking havoc, has been having his way with all of mankind, subjecting us to death and making us live lives that are meaningless, ending in death. And all of mankind was scared and fearful of death. And when Christ comes, he raises us up. He changes what death means. Death no longer is an end. He makes it a victory. That's where St. Paul says, where is your death? Death, where is your sting? Where is your victory? I was thinking about I asked this yesterday in the Zoom meeting to the kids. What is your favorite part of Christmas? Because we all have different parts that are favorite parts of Christmas. A lot of kids had a lot of different answers. Some said making cookies. Many of them said opening presents, right? Singing carols. A lot of them said Christmas caroling. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that this year. But a lot of them said Christmas caroling. They like to do that. They enjoyed that. And some of them said the service. But I was thinking the question for myself, and I was thinking it's the fire that we do at the Christmas service. If I were to answer that today, it would be, I like all those things. I like the caroling. I like all the season, the decorations, all those things. But it would be the fire at Christmas service. And the reason for that is because Satan works all the time to make us forget about Christ. Ever since he was defeated, what he is working to do is to make us forget about Christ and his kingdom. So even a holiday like Christmas, a very special day in the church, can be turned into just vacation time, family time, a fun time, a good time. But when we come early in the morning and we worship, it means something. And that's why the church prescribes it that way. And that's why, here, and it was like this when I got here, and I have kept it, we have the early morning service. We're not convenient about it. There are some churches that do it in the evening and don't do the morning prayers and don't do third and sixth hour, and they don't come early in the morning. But I think it's important for us to do it the way the church prescribed it. That we do it, we have the evening prayer yesterday, and then we come early in the morning. We get inconvenient about it. We wake up and we come and we bring ourselves here. We make a journey just like the shepherds did, just like the wise men did. May not be a convenient journey, but we're here, and when we do that, the devil knows. The devil knows that who our king is. That it's not a convenience. We didn't just happen to come here. All of you are here because you made an extra effort to come and be here this early. But the devil will constantly work to make us forget. And he does it with holidays like Christmas and Easter and all the things that are supposed to be life-giving proclamations to the world. We are slowly making them just secularized things. And as Christians, we're called to say, no, this world is dark. This world is cold. It's only through the light of Christ that anything else will have any meaning for us. And we're very serious about that. That's why even traditionally there are no evening kurbanas. We only do that because of work schedules and school schedules that we ever do a kurbana in the evening. Kurbanas are meant to be done in the morning, after sleep, after having some rest. And this is the first thing you do without doing anything else in your day. You come and you worship. And that's what we're called to do. And I said I was a little deflated because of this whole pandemic news. I know that's the reason. I mean, that all of us, even my own kids, I wanted them to come, but my son, he goes to everybody. He won't stay still, and he doesn't wear a mask well. So I just couldn't risk it for the community's sake. I didn't want anybody to feel uncomfortable about it. But it made me sad, because I wanted he would have come. They all would have come. But we're just, playing it cautious for the community, as many people are making those precautions, and I get it. But I also don't find it coincident. I know it's not a coincidence to me that every time the pandemics have struck, I remember the first time in 2020, it was during the Great Fast, where everything got shut down and we had the Holy Week with 10 people. And here we are, everything was fine. We were getting back to normal with our all vaccinated and everything. And now even when we're vaccinated, we're put back into our homes. We're secluded right at the feast of Christmas. I don't find that coincidental. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't take precautions. What I'm saying is, know how the devil is working in the world to create fear and keep us away as much as possible from the church. Be aware of that. And take every opportunity when we're able to come to church to come. Because there is a warfare for our soul. And that's what I was really thinking of when I think about the fire. Is that we're called to love the light of Christ more than the darkness of the world. If you look in John chapter 3, verse 16, it's one of the most famous verses that I hope everybody knows. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. But it goes on to say, for God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He who believes in him is not condemned, but he who does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son. And this is the condemnation. This is what John is saying. This is the judgment that is proclaimed on us, that the light came into this world, and men loved darkness rather than the light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone practicing evil hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his deeds should be exposed. But he who does the truth comes to the light, that his deeds may be clearly seen, that they have been done in God. This is the question to ask us today. Do we love the darkness more than the light? The light has shone into the world, yes, but are we seeking darkness instead? Do we look for that instead in our life? And do we try to light up that darkness with all these other things other than the light of Christ? Right? Especially with things like technology, phone, movies, all these types of things, social media. These are the things that we're trying to light ourselves with instead of the light of Christ. And Christ is saying, I'm the light that gives you joy and peace and warmth. Come for me. Don't go after all these other things. Not that they're all bad, but that shouldn't be the thing that's the priority for you. But the devil tries to constantly work. And every Sunday, we are making that journey to see Christ. Just like the shepherds and just like the wise men. Because Christ is here on this altar. You have to think about it, right? It's a little baby that they're saying is the creator of the world there. Would we have even believed 2,000 years ago? Or would we have thought, it's some baby born in a manger, in a cave. That's supposed to be the King of Kings? And just like here, every Sunday, Christ is here on the altar. He's offered to us in the plate, on the cup. His body and blood is given to us. That's what we proclaim every Sunday in the Qurbana. That Christ is here physically, in his flesh and blood on this altar, and given to us. And that's what John goes on to say in chapter 6. If you eat my flesh and drink my blood, I will abide in you, and you will abide in me. This is what's being offered at every Qurbana. This is why the church makes such a big deal about what Qurbana is. Not simply because of the singing and the praising, but because God himself is making himself present here on every altar. And that's why even during this whole time, we come in faith knowing that Christ in his flesh and blood, I am receiving the healer. That is who I'm receiving. The King of Kings. This is the faith we're called to have. This is where we get tested oftentimes. But this is what we proclaim as Orthodox Christians. That Christ is here. He not just 2,000 years ago, but he continues to abide in us in the Eucharist. We also can participate in his flesh and blood. Not just Joseph and Mary, not just the shepherds, not just the wise men, but we also. And then we believe his full kingdom will come again when he comes in his great glory. So let us be always vigilant against the evil one. Let us remember Christ is the true light. Let us not love the darkness. But in whatever situation, always seek after Christ and his kingdom. Let that be our true joy during this Christmas season. May all glory be to the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, now and always.